Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, my name is Rivi, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Strivers Network. The Strivers Network is an internationally recognized youth-led social venture working to empower Sri Lanka's underserved high achievers to attain upward social mobility through a world-leading post-secondary education. We do this by conducting island-wide outreach, providing zero-cost high-touch mentorship, catalyzing community leadership, and mobilizing youth-led advocacy. And you're tuning into the Striver Chats. So Striver Chats is an initiative by TSN to highlight the human beings behind who are part of this community. And we are generally trying to highlight success stories that we've been able to cultivate over these past 4 years of building TSN. And I'm very excited to have a conversation with our next guest, Amaya Ranatunge. She's currently a first year at Amherst College. And I can't wait to get started. Welcome, Amaya.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So Amaya was part of like last cohort, which was the third cohort, and she didn't just get into Amherst College. She also got into Wesleyan University, Carleton College, and Haverford College. So four liberal arts colleges right there. So we're gonna learn a lot more about what a liberal arts college is and how Amaya's experience has been through this conversation. So Amaya, why don't we start with like a basic introduction, the basics of who you are, like where you grew up, what kind of interests you had, what subjects you studied, and so on.
Hi, I'm Amaya. I'm from Galle, Sri Lanka. I went to Sangamitta Girls College in Galle. I did my A-levels in art stream. I'm mostly interested in English and like international politics. I'm currently studying English and political science and like a couple of other subjects. So I'm a freshman at Amherst College.
Nice. So English and political science. Wow. So we're definitely gonna get into that and why you kind of have chosen those two for now. Um, so you mentioned that you did arts for A levels. And I want to get into a bit of a political kind of topic here in terms of like um how our education system kind of creates a hierarchy of these different subjects. At least in my experience, like I was surrounded by people who kept telling me to do STEM, to do maths, do science. In fact, like I remember like one of my A-level teachers, this was before I transferred to a private school, one of my public school A-level teachers was kind of like scolding us and telling us, if you can't handle this, you should just go to arts, and kind of like really, it's very condescending and demeaning. So I just wanted to explore that with you and how you interacted with that.
That's actually very similar. Like when I was in like grade 10, 11, I had like pretty much like good marks. So when we were selecting subjects for A levels, everyone was like, oh, you had to do bio, you had to do math. But honestly, I personally didn't care. I guess that's why I did arts. Like I knew like I really didn't like doing science. I honestly liked math, but I didn't want to do like the only part that at that time I saw like after career path I saw by doing math was like engineer, research, something like that. But I didn't really like that, and I was like really interested in English, so I wanted to do English, and I basically selected because I wanted to do English. It's like I would say if you go to a public school, it's pretty much normal. Like it's very normalized that or if you have marks or like if you want like a stable career, you have to do bio or maths. It's like a normalized thing there. So
Yeah, and I think there's a certain generational element of it as well in terms of like our parents' generation and the kind of Sri Lanka that they were growing up in. I can imagine that the job opportunities were very slim those days, and they had to kind of resort to very pre-planned like paths for like about 4 or 5 careers that like kind of give you a good wage. But things have changed now. And for the viewers like who have any doubts, for example, if you're just after O levels, most of you are going to be just after, a lot of you are going to be just after O levels in like 1 or 2 weeks, I think. And if you're watching this, and you're considering uh what to pursue for your A levels, not even just A levels, even like looking kind of zooming out and thinking like of doing a foundation or like a degree or like maybe going into vocational skills. So think of all the options that you have, and do what Amaya did. Just really like follow your kind of heart when it comes to those decisions, because you'd much rather be like you're most likely going to be the best at what you love. And there's kind of like no joy in doing so forcing yourself to do something that you're not passionate about. That's kind of depressing. And I'm like you're much more brave than me, Amaya, because I like kind of did listen to my parents like halfway. They wanted me to do like the sciences and math, and I did math. I did the math. I did physics, but I wanted to do economics. So that was my compromise.
Well,
But yeah,
I was kind of lucky in that way because both my parents were like, they supported me doing arts because they both of them are like in the
nice.
legal field, so they were kind of supportive
Yeah,
of that. So
yeah,
I guess that was like a lucky thing for me.
that's nice. That's really cool. But okay. Oh yeah. I've had like 3 other chats before this. And like all of the people I've interviewed went to like segregated like schools, either all boys or all girls. And I couldn't ask them this question about like what your experience transitioning from an all girls kind of environment to a co-educational environment at Amherst. For me, I kind of had that transition when I went to the private school that I got a scholarship to for my last 2 years. And so that gave me a good kind of good practice in terms of like social life and like how to navigate social life when it's co-educational. So what was it like for you?
Oh, it's like I would say it was very strange first, but I kind of had like this foreground because I did Model UN when I was in high school. So it's like if I go to an all girls school, I don't really have like a chance to like communicate with like guys if it's like unless it's like a tuition class. But even in a tuition class, girls sit in one side and guys sit in one. It's like no communication or anything. But like because of MUN, I had like a little bit of like a foresight into like how that transition happened, but not like a full one. But like the full transition, I have to say it's kind of strange. Like the first few months, you have to like, oh, okay, this is how it works, and you have to tell yourself. But like after like 2 months, it's like fine, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it normalizes for sure. Um, you mentioned that you went to a pre-orientation program, right? It's like speaking of, institutional support and, especially when it comes to people from under-resourced backgrounds or just backgrounds that are foreign to the American system. How was the support that Amherst gave you?
Oh, it was actually really great. I had to like I'm like so glad I chose Amherst because I feel like because we had like this program during like the pre-orientation thing during summer. There are like especially like students from like backgrounds who didn't have like that much exposure to the US education system. We just had like a summer like 2 weeks program where we get to like sit in classes like a special programs where they was taught by like professors in the college so we could get an idea about how the classes work, how the papers research work. That was really helpful. Like that was like the first experience of me, like with Amherst being helpful. And even after that, I think Amherst is like has been like really helpful because like it's mostly because it's like a very small liberal arts college. So like even in like a classroom, I think like in Yale it's like 100 people or something, but here like mostly it would be like 10 or 15. So you get like personalized attention, like by that like we had like dinner at like president of Amherst's house. So like it's like yeah, so it's like because it's small, it's like you get like very specialized attention for everyone, and it's easier to make connections and networks.
Yeah, and this is so bittersweet to me because in one sense I'm so like happy to like hear all this and like hear that Amherst has been supportive and that you've been thriving. And it just fills my heart to hear that. But I'm also Amherst was like my first kind of choice. I almost went ED to Amherst, as in like I applied early decision, and then I ended up applying RD, regular decision. And when I got my Amherst rejection, it was like the saddest moment of that entire like application period. I literally was like close to tears. It was just like I don't know why, because I when I found out about liberal arts colleges, I really felt like um it kind of fit my vibe. And I'll talk like about Yale as well. Yale does this thing where like they like to think of themselves as like instead of either or, think and what so like Yale is both like a large well, not large but mid-sized research university, and also there's a liberal arts college inside it. In practice, yes, you have those intro courses especially that like go up to like 300 people, which I don't even know how big the MS like batches are, but that's probably kind of
Oh, we are
approaching that.
200. I think we are 200.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait, no,
exactly.
I'm not sure. Wait, I think we are 200, like, because I know, like, it's not that big.
Yeah,
Like, I think
200 sounds
humanities,
really tight.
yeah, humanities
Yeah,
is like
that's really
200.
cool. I see, I see. But then do you do have seminars at Yale as well? Most usually you find them in the humanities or the social sciences, but those tend to be like 12 to 18 people. And then also languages and stuff like that. But yeah, no, yeah, I have so many questions about Amherst. So let's again backtrack just a bit and talk about the road to Amherst and also Wesleyan and Haverford and Carleton. So how did you first like come across both TSN and also like the idea of studying abroad?
Oh, so I'm from Go. Like, I have never heard of TS. I've never heard of TS, or like studying abroad, like scholarship or anything before. I actually went to like when I was doing my A levels, I went to like a tuition class in Colombo. She was like a teacher. Her name was Miss Sajivani. She was like teacher from Museum. And because I was like, she liked my answers and all of that, she told me about like Ranudi, because Ranudi was also one of her students. So she gave me Ranudi's number and she was like, okay, you should actually talk to Ranudi and figure out because both of you are good at writing. And then I gave a call to Ranudi and she told me about Strivers. So that's how I found out about Strivers.
Yeah, for the viewers, Pranati Gunawardana was part of our first cohort, and she got into Williams College, which is ranked the number one, while Amherst is like number two. They're kind of like I think it's in my head, it's like Williams, Amherst, and Swarthmore are kind of like in their own league. But yeah, different people say different things. But yeah, and that's really cool, that connection. I mean, yeah, it's so special to me that like this is our program is endorsed by lit teachers. I think lit teachers are really cool. So it's really cool that they did that. So and then take us to the journey of like, you know, figuring out about the whole application system and like, you know, things like that. Yeah.
Um, so like the application process, I guess I think I applied Yale for ED. I got rejected. Um, and then yeah, so basically,
Wh-
do you want me to like
Yeah.
give an idea about like like the essays and everything? Or
Yeah. Wasn't it Dartmouth that you applied ED?
no, Dartmouth was my first choice in RD.
Oh, right. I see, I see. Yes, I remember the interview like that you faced for
Yeah.
Dartmouth. Yeah, no, just about your application, like how it was for you, like what it was like to write essays, and just any like advice you might have also, like that, any lessons you learned from that experience.
So for like the Common App essay, I basically wrote like my main extracurricular was like debating and like creative writing. I don't know how I combined those two, but somehow like as a kid I used to have like stage fear and I was like really shy. But somehow because of debating I got over that. So my essay was about like how I got over stage fear. So like all the extracurriculars, like everything, the essay, everything was like structured around that. In a way, I was like, oh, creative writing helped me to be like more confident, and debating helped me to get over stage fear. Like everything was some kind of like somehow structured around it. And I would say like some people think like after I got here, I discovered that some people think, oh, the easiest way to get into college is like somehow trauma dump someone in your application, which is not true. I would say you just have to like choose something that you're like really passionate about, and then somehow like tell the committee, like the admission committee, why you are so passionate and why that proves you to be like a worthy person to be in the university, and that how that actually that could be an example of like how you could actually benefit the university itself in the future after you graduate.
Yeah, that's really important, like what you pointed out. The way I like to think about it is like it depends on the applicant, obviously. And you kind of need to use your own intuition here in terms of like, am I forcing this? Am I forcing this kind of trauma dumping onto my essay? Or is it authentic and is it coming from the heart? You know, like for some people that might work, for some people it doesn't. And so really, yeah, just it's a whole process. At least it was for me, like just figuring out what to write and stuff like that. But yeah, I can relate to the idea of stage fright because I used to be really shy as well. Um, and for me, it was like theater that got me out of my shell. And just being part of the stage and like getting to like be a whole other person or other being. And yeah, that was just like so I kind of like I still am an introvert, but it got me like pushed me and like made me more comfortable with like, you know, just working with people. And like when it's a theater production, it's such a whole thing, right? You have like the director and like the backstage crew, things like that. So yeah. So let's talk more about Amherst. So English and political science. Um, well, why don't you just for the viewers just talk about what a liberal arts college is first of all, and you alluded to the fact that this means smaller class sizes, but anything else that you would add?
Most important thing is like that freedom you have to like choose classes. Because for example, if you take Sri Lankan like universities, it's like, oh, if you did art for like your A levels, you either go to law faculty, arts like arts faculty, like that, or if you do bio, you go to medical faculty. Like there's like a set path, but in the liberal arts college, you really don't have that. So I applied to arts, but now I could take pre-med if I want to. I could do chemistry, I could do physics. Like it's like the idea of a major, I guess. So first semester, I took classes in English, political science, French, and Greek literature. And this semester, I'm taking English, political science, and French, like two English classes. But I think the main idea is that here it's like the how they determine the major is very different. They have like a set amount of take those classes. You can also take like other classes you love. So like for example, like, I'm not planning to major in photography or like drama, but next semester I'm planning to take a class in film production. So it's like you have space to actually explore different paths and like actually decide, okay, I was passionate about this in high school, but am I really passionate about this over there? Do I really need to do a career in this? Because I met like lots of upperclassmen who came here to do English and like English, and then they did took a math class in Amherst, and they switched to math. Or like someone came here to do pre-med, they took a theater class, and now they're like doing art history or theater and dance. Like there's a lot of people who have switched, like drastical switch, like very controversial career paths. So,
Yeah, for me, it's always interesting to hear about different combinations of majors or like different switches that different people had. I was having a Striver chat with Sunaragri, one of our co-founders, just yesterday, and he was talking about his journey from, so he did combined maths for A levels, and then he majored in physics at Harvard, but then he wanted to find out about like the philosophy of physics, like so then he took some philosophy classes, and then he kind of wanted to think about like um they kind of wanted to go into the minds of like all these like scientists who like decided on like this system, and then he ended up with psychology, and I don't know how he did that, but like now he's planning on going to grad school for psychology. So and I think this development is like 1 or 1.5 years like old. It's like that new. So it's crazy. Like to me, it's it's that, and also um just the fact that in my experience at least, like those extra courses that you take outside of your main like focus, like they somehow like add into like your toolkit and like experience in a meaningful way. For me, for example, I entered Yale as like an econ, ethics, politics, and economics kind of major. And then I took a CS course, like a computer science course, and I kind of like fell in love with it instantly. And so I've been a computer science course, but then I got interested. So then I got interested in like education studies. So I started taking those classes. Then like as I was learning about early childhood education, like I ended up finding out about psychology a lot and linguistics, and I took a few courses in those. So, and they all kind of like then I can like think about the intersection of computer science and like psychology, right? Which is human computer interaction, or with linguistics, which is like ChatGPT. And like it's really cool like finding those different connections. And that simply doesn't happen, unfortunately, in the current state university system that we have, because of the silos that exist. And yeah, it's kind of, it's really sad, but it makes like the work that we do at the Strivers Network all the more rewarding, just because like we have like lived through the experience of like getting so much exposure all of a sudden. And like yeah, on that note, actually, did you kind of have, decision paralysis, like when you were presented with all these majors and like you have to pick like max like 2 or 3 maybe? Like, did for me at least, it was like a struggle to like come to a decision.
wait, uh, for Amherst, we don't have to declare until end of our second year. So I'm undeclared right now. But like it's like first 2 years you get to explore. By the end of the second year, you have to declare at least one. But even after that, you get to either add or change. Like you can change, but it's just the rule is that you have to declare something by the end of your second year.
Yeah,
So
no, that is how it was at Yale, except I'm the kind of person who has like anxiety for something that's like 2 years away. So I guess that's
I'm
just me.
I'm pretty much no, I'm like yeah, I get that because I'm pretty much
Yeah.
like fixed on English. I know I want to major in English. Like I like
Mhm.
that's the main reason why I even applied to study abroad. Like
Yeah.
I'm so nervous about the second choice. I'm like trying French, political science, like all of those. I
Mm.
don't even know. Like I tried political science. It's not too bad, but I don't really like it that much. French is like sure, I don't know. Like English is good. Like I'm sure about English. I'm like looking for a second one. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for suggestions, sorry. Yeah, if you're looking for suggestions, I would like highly recommend trying education studies. But that's just me. Yeah, more I like want to know more about Amherst. Just about like so Amherst is a rural, is it like a college town? Is it rural? Like And also like how did you find like the social life to be, especially as an international student?
Oh, I think Amherst is a college town. It's not like rural. We have the Amherst town, and then UMass is right next to us, so there's like a lot of people. And there's Northampton and Hadley, so like there's like towns nearby, but it's not like cities. I would say for the social life, it's kind of pretty like much of a big change for me because I live in Go, like near the town, and I went to a school which had like 6,000 kids, so it was like huge. And after I got here, it's like very, I don't know, it's like, it's not rural, but it's like you have the same places to hang out. Like you go to the same restaurant every day, you go to the same cafe. It's like very, but it's like, it's good in a way because it's like a very tight community then. But I would say it is very different and it takes a little bit of a time to adjust if you grew up in a city.
Yeah, no. That sounds, I mean, does it feel like a simulation sometimes? Because I feel like that, like, yeah, like going to the same, like having like five places to hang out. Yeah, that sounds, I really want to experience that somehow. But yeah. So like let's talk about like so you mentioned that you were big on debating and modeling you model UN. And I think you mentioned like back at during the orientation that you paint as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I did
Nice.
art.
Yeah. So like which of those like activities like have you continued like onto like Amherst and how involved are you on campus?
I am so in high school I was mostly doing like public speak oriented one just because our high school really didn't have like much to do with creative writing unless it's like the national creative writing like the national English Day competition. But here I'm mostly focusing on creative writing. So we have like two newspapers like the regular newspaper called The Student and then we have like a which is published like every week. I'm working as like a writer for that in the arts and living section. And then we have like a magazine, like a literature magazine where people get to write poetry or short stories that's published like once a semester. And they also have art. So I'm working also as like an illustrator and like a writer for the magazine. So those two are like the main ones, and also the other main one is like debate. I continue debate, and I'm like currently in e-board, so that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. And I'm planning to do Model UN, but I still didn't start this semester because I wasn't sure how much extracurriculars I could handle with the university work. But I think I have space for Model UN, so I'm planning to start that from next year onwards.
That sounds so exciting. I mean, like that sounds like a lot as well, but I'm glad, yeah, yeah, I'm glad to hear that about that. So yeah, I want to talk more about like Amherst's back to Amherst academics. Let's talk you talked about like a few courses that you like as well. Like what would you say is like your uh since we're talking about liberal arts colleges and liberal arts colleges like to kind of tout the teacher the faculty to student ratio and the teacher student relationships. You mentioned that you were working as a research assistant with a professor, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
So I took her class this. I'm taking her class this semester. She's from the English department. It's actually a funny story because in the first semester, I took a class. I took a classics class, and I really liked the professor. And so he had like a he was hiring for research assistant. So I wanted to like it looked fun because we had to read Greek literature and like helping analyze them. So I applied, but I was also taking a class in the English department, and she was like English professor was also hiring for research assistant. So I applied for both the positions, but I apparently got accepted for both and like accepted for both. So I rejected the classics one because I preferred the English one. Then like my classics professor sent me an email saying, "Oh, you rejected this because you wanted the English department, right? Right?" Because I didn't know how he got to know that, but it turned out they were married, and I applied to both of like the research assistant positions. But yeah, it's been really good because like my English professor, she's super nice, and I'm taking a class called Introduction to Poetry. It's like really interesting. We are analyzing the evolution of sonnets from like Petrarch, like Italian times to modern American literature. So for research, it's like she recently published a book, and she's trying to like write a couple of articles about her like stuff that had to be taken out of the book because it was like too much. So we are focusing on like William Wordsworth and romantic literature, and currently we are like making the annotated bibliography, reading books about Wordsworth, and going to workshops and working on that to publish an article, hopefully by within this semester.
That's big stuff, and that's that's such a fun story to tell also, just the fact that you had to find out that way. I guess like that speaks to like how like small that tight-knit the community is. Yeah. That's really funny. So what next? Maybe like what are your plans for the summer? Since you are like pretty like solidly undecided, we don't have to talk about majors. But yeah, like what are your summer plans?
Um, so I know it's like pretty much normal for students here to do summer internships like in US, but because it's first year, I wanted to just go home. So I'm leaving on May 6th, and I'm gonna stay home until August 31st. So I'm not really doing an internship here, but I'm doing one in Sri Lanka. I don't know how much that's gonna like be valuable here. I'm hoping it would actually be important. I'm working in like the newspaper agency called The Morning as like an intern. So I'm focusing pretty much on that during the summer. And yeah, I think that's it for the summer. Rather than that, I just wanted to like go home and stay at home.
Yeah, no, 100%. When during my first year, it was in 2022. And if you can remember, like Galle and all that, right? So I was like really, so I was initially planning to like spend my first summer doing like research because they give us funding in the first year for research, like living expenses and stuff like that. So but then like I really like I was I was really feeling homesick, and I remember even like going to a protest in NYC. We were at Times Square. Um and I still like really wanted to go home, so I ended up going home, and like I'm really happy I made that decision. But yeah. Oh yeah, speaking of, how are you like finding the cold? Like oh wait, like any fun like campus traditions that you've kind of discovered?
What kind of traditions?
Like
No.
um yeah, for example, Yale has this very peculiar tradition that on the last day of final exams, um at a certain time, like exams end at 5 p.m., let's say, a bunch of people just get naked, remove their clothes, and start running around campus, and we just have to like witness it. And that's actually that's been there for a really long time apparently, and yeah, people have done that. Yeah, as an
We
example.
actually don't have anything like that. I'm surprised. We don't have like other than from like those academic calendar events. We don't really have like very like traditions like that. Or else
Yeah,
I still
well,
haven't
maybe,
encountered.
yeah, maybe you'll find out. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe it's more for the upperclassmen. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, Amaya, so much. I just have one more question, and I call this the infamous question. Um, will you return to Sri Lanka? Do you plan to come back to Sri Lanka immediately, or like eventually, or yeah, yeah, how's that on
Oh,
that?
I okay. So, oh, this is like a question I have been asking myself recently as well, because like when I came here, I wanted to return to Sri Lanka like right after the 4 years, but I realized if I wanted to actually do masters, because I like as a career, I'm kind of currently considering like going into academia, being a professor or something. So I realized that if I wanted to do my master's, I can't really. I have to stay here if I wanted to like do a good master's and apply for a Fulbright. I still have to stay here. So far, I think as like whether I want to settle in US as like in the future, like forever, I would say no. But I think I just want to study here, like do my master's, maybe PhDs, and like go back to Sri Lanka after that. I would probably like go to Sri Lanka after the undergrad and then maybe stay for like 1 year and then come back, apply for Fulbright and do like masters and PhDs and then go back to Sri Lanka. I don't think I want to settle here.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, it's a question that I've been thinking about for the last 4 years as well. And something that I guess and the reason that I bring it up is because the these connotations around the idea of being and I wanted to kind of explore that through Striver Chats as well in terms of like hearing different people's opinions and kind of showing people that it's not as simple as being in Sri Lanka or not being in Sri Lanka or like contributing or not contributing.
Yeah,
Sometimes like there are so many ways that you can contribute to Sri Lanka without ever setting foot in Sri Lanka. Like, like that's it's much more nuanced and yeah.
yeah.
Um
No, it's
but yeah,
like
that sounds sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, no, it's like I was pretty much certain that I want to go back to Sri Lanka. Like I don't care. Like after masters, I'm going back. But the reason why I'm like questioning is like I've been looking at like the resources I would have in Sri Lanka versus here if I actually do get into academia. So that's been like making me question: would I actually get to explore my interests if I go back the same way I would get to explore them here?
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I think it's like a question. I'm really not sure, but for now, I'm like fixed on going to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, yeah. And that sounds exciting, like English professor by day. I don't know if you're into fiction or nonfiction, but writer by night. To you, I've heard of this really famous like program, like a master's program called the Iowa Writers Workshop. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
you're like eyeing that, but like yeah, it sounds really cool. Like I mean, like literally just like in the woods, just you know, writing stuff. But yeah, that sounds really exciting. And again, um. I I'm so happy to like celebrate like success stories, especially in the humanities and the social sciences in Sri Lanka, just because of like the the not stigma, but like the how discouraging it is to be an art student in Sri Lanka. Yeah, but thanks so much, Amaya, for giving us your time and gracing us in this event. Do you have any parting words of like advice, any thoughts for prospective scholars?
I would say like what we started with, basically just because someone else you tell you to do bio or like even us, like if someone else you to do a subject just because they think it's important, don't do it. Just do what you like because there's something that one of like my high school teachers always told me. It's not just about A levels, like think about what you want to be doing every day, every single day of your life as a job after 20 more years. Just because you want prestige in A levels, you don't have to be like doing something someone else likes every single day for the rest of your life until you die. So,
Mic drop. That yeah, mic drop right there. Yeah, definitely couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, thank you so much, Amaya. Have a good night and best of luck at Amherst.
thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Cool. I think we're done.